What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for Life, coming at you on YouTube, and today I've got another edition of The Drive-In, where I watch recently released films and tell you guys whether they're worth watching, worth waiting for, or worth skipping altogether. Today I'm talking about one that I was mildly intrigued by. We saw a brief preview for this right after Longlegs. I'm talking about a movie that I actually saw probably weeks and weeks ago. This is the longest time between watching the film and reviewing the film that I've had in a long time, talking about 2025's The Monkey. And I came in intrigued because of the source material, but life got in the way. I watched it. I took notes on it immediately, but then it's been weeks and weeks. So my review might be a little bit sparse and kind of foggy on certain points of it because it's been so long. But there were things I enjoyed and things I didn't enjoy. Oz Perkins directed this based on a Stephen King short story. So you got Stephen King, who's obviously the most renowned horror author in the history of the world. Oz Perkins, you guys know from many different things. Let's get into the credits, and I'll talk to you guys about kind of spoiler-free, of course. Not going to spoil it, even though it's been out for quite a while now. I will talk to you guys about some things I did and didn't like. So this film, The Monkey, 2025, one of its newest horror releases, was written and directed by Oz Perkins, as you guys know from, I think it's I Am the Pretty Little Thing That Lives in the House, some long title like that, also Longlegs. Both of those movies I thought were okay. Had a lot of potential, things I liked, things I didn't like, and this one kind of falls right in that same vein. So written and directed by Oz Perkins, who you guys know is the son of Anthony Perkins from the Psycho franchise, both a writer and director in the past himself, an actor playing Anthony Perkins, playing Norman Bates that I love so much. This film is starring Theo James as both Hal and Bill Shelburne. And basically, spoiler-free, what I can say about this is it's two young brothers who discover this monkey statue, this like animatronic figurehead that when it's wound up, when its button is signaled, when it's pressed, whatever you want to call it, when the monkey is activated, it starts to play music and kind of like move its head and look alive. And when that happens, somebody dies. You don't know who and you don't know exactly when, but you know soon after you hear the tone that somebody is going to die. And so these two brothers, played by the same actor, Theo James, who did a wonderful job, have to kind of harness this power and know when to use it and try not to use it and react to it in different ways. And that's kind of the brother bond source of this film, that, when this crazy monkey starts getting going, there's a curse that basically stays with the Shelburne family forever. It starts with them as kids with a loss in their family and stays with the Shelburne brothers as they get older. And you see how the two brothers kind of react to coming across this figurehead of death. The first thing I wrote down in terms of positives is technical cleanliness. I think a lot of the technical aspects of this film were really good. The camera movement was very clean. They used a lot of the long hallway shots that I like, the two shots, the rack focus shots where somebody is in the foreground and then somebody's in the background and they change focus and the camera shifts from foreground to background. They did a lot of lingering shots where something would happen at the start of a shot and they would come back to the same shot and something else would happen, or you would linger on something and hold on the same shot for a long time to either get an actor's reaction to something or build up tension to wait for something to happen. And all of those things were really, really solid. The sound design, while there wasn't like a ton of sound, the sound they used was good. The soundtracks and the beats and the hits they used were really good. I think the editing was good. I think overall, technically, it's a pretty sharp film, and it's probably visually up there with Oz Perkins' best. I really enjoyed this in terms of what they showed on the screen. Duality of brothers. They really separated Hal and Bill Shelburne to the point that I knew Theo James had played both, but I wasn't 100% sure. The characters had different looks and acted so differently throughout the film that I was questioning and second-guessing myself, going, did I read that somewhere? Was I wrong? Is this the same guy? I can't really tell. There's moments that I could not see the actor in the two brothers, and that is a really big point for the actor. That means the actor's doing a wonderful job. You're supposed to not be able to see the actor or see the same actor in both characters. So I think that Theo James deserves a really big piece of credit for his work in this. And I like how different they are. One brother is kind of the angry kind of bully older brother character that's kind of more brash and more in your face and more like trying to be cool and trying to be in control. And the other brother is kind of quieter and more mousy and more of a loner, more kind of awkward and weird. And that even gets exacerbated as they grow up, and you get a flash forward and you see how they are after a passage of time and how their bond is kind of in some ways been severed and how some ways it's brought back together. But you see a distinctive difference in the two brothers that really makes them unrecognizable to each other as they grow older, which is a really good point of character in this film. Gore, really enjoyed the gore, and again, it's a bit foggy now, it's been a while, but the stuff they showed, there was one or two little moments of CGI. I think not so much in gore, but in a couple other of the visuals toward the end of the film. When they went CGI, I think a few particular shots took me out of moments, but for the most part, they went practical, and when they did, it was very good. They did not spare any expense when it came to practical gore on screen. And they would show it at the right times, they would show it at the right angles, and they would linger on it when they had to. So this film's definitely got some gore, but it's not mindless, it is all purposeful, and that's what I liked about it. So good gore when they used it. I wish they had used everything practical, but when they decided to go practical, the gore was a big strength in this movie. Monkey design. I really enjoyed the design of the monkey. If this monkey is going to be this freaky totem that is the harbinger of death, it has to look really cool. And while it was big and wild and at times silly if it lingered on it too much, I think it didn't hurt to overexpose the monster. I talk on this channel a lot about how sometimes when there's a monster and there's too much makeup, or the actor has to rely on facials, or you're going to use CGI especially, you have to not overexpose the monster. You have to pick and choose your shots, and you have to save your moments for big reveals and not linger too much. In this case, the monkey design was pretty cool. The monkey had the thimbles and the big face and the teeth. And like I said, sometimes if you look at it in a certain way, you're like, well, that's a little bit over the top. But I think it played into this well. I think it suited the story, both as the book, what you read in the book, and also what you see on screen. And it's been a long time since I've read the book as well, or the short story, I should say. But I really enjoyed what this totem looked like, and kind of it suited, I think, what the characters were meant to be afraid of. When you look at this thing, you're like, oh, that's a little creepy and a little weird, and you don't want to get too close because you never know when it's going to be activated. Nextly, Final Destination figurehead. This movie kind of had Final Destination moments to it. Some things had to align. Once the thing was wound up, once the monkey totem was activated, you knew that life was going to find a way to kill characters, and kind of getting them in awkward situations and building the tension and going, okay, which one of these shots is going to show the character that's going to die? Which one of these characters are putting themselves in a death situation, and how are they going to execute it? And when you saw it coming, you could kind of chuckle and go, oh, that's going to be it. And then they would subvert your expectation and kill somebody else instead of the one you thought was going to be killed. So I like stuff like that. Final Destination, I know they've made like 5 or 6 of the same movies, and they're making a new one coming up. I like them all. They're guilty pleasures. Yes, they're formulaic. Yes, they're at times silly. Suspension of disbelief is big there, but it works. It's fun. It's tense. It makes you chuckle. It makes you twinge. It really combines a lot of things. And I think the monkey and the story played themselves into a Final Destination type of film. And I really enjoyed that aspect. I had a good time with that. It's not for everyone, but that's for me. Now to some negatives. Too much comedic tone. I think there were some moments, and this plays into a few other negatives I had, where and it's going to kind of all combine here, because I think the comedy was just off for me in this. I think it was too much comedy, but I think there were some characters in the background that were just way over the top and didn't fit in with the rest of the story. They were just playing everything for laughs, and I don't know if that was a direction issue, if that was a dialogue issue, if that was just the way the actors chose it. I don't know who was in command of the choices for the actors in this, but some of the characters just didn't fit in. Some of the characters were like so serious on the other end of the spectrum that it made the comedic one stand out in a bad way, and then also made you question some of the messages in the movie, and you're like, why are they going this direction with this character? So you've got some wildly over the top, some really serious but telling a weird story, and then some right in the sweet spot. So I don't really get that. The tone for me was really weird, and some of the timing of the comedic tone was weird. There were some things happening toward the end of the movie that I was like, why are we choosing to go this direction? So a lot of the tone and a lot of the choices for individual actors and moments of the story to react in certain ways didn't work for me. Weird messages. We had a bunch of themes here that I don't really think fit. There was some stuff about death, but certain characters in particular kept going back to kind of similar monologues or similar kind of almost in-jokes. They were serious moments, but they played like jokes, and I didn't really understand why they were put in there. I mean, granted, they're kind of part of the book, but I think with creative license and poetic license, you can kind of get away with getting around those if they don't fit your story. And I don't think that, one character in particular it made sense for, but I feel like some of the themes toward the end of the movie just kind of threw me off because they felt very fish out of water. Speaking of animals out of water, we had a horse theme here. I'm not going to give anything away. It comes back a few times. There's a horse theme that I don't think makes any sense, aside from being like an ironic laughing moment for the movie, which again happens at times when you shouldn't be laughing at the movie. Now, granted, I'm not the best judge of comedy and horror because I like my horror comedy balanced and even at best more so leaning toward horror. I'm more a 70-30 horror over comedy guy. 50-50 I can handle, not the biggest fan. This just felt like, to me, the comedy really was coming at times that didn't make any sense for the story and made me feel like I shouldn't care about it. Silly background characters. Like I said, there was two in particular that I felt really didn't fit. There was some line delivery from even one of the main characters that I felt didn't fit. And it just, while it's good to have one of those, or it's good to have some scene breaks in between some serious gore moments or lost moments, the timing of this was all wrong. The pacing was a little bit slow, and then the timing of some things was really wrong. Low stakes. That is the result of the writing and the characters playing over the top and being silly in moments when you should be serious. It makes the audience feel like these are what they're talking about, and the way they're talking about these stakes doesn't match up with what the stakes actually are. This is a movie that has really high stakes and a really unique premise where you can control the fact that somebody dies by using this totem, but you don't know who it's going to be. It potentially, you could be safe from it, but you're not sure if you could be safe from it. So it could be you, it could be someone you love, it could be somebody you hate, it could be a target, it could be the opposite of a target, it could be anybody. So you hold the fate of the world in your hands, but you don't necessarily have the power of how to execute it. Those are really big stakes with two brothers who really built up this animosity and this storyline with each other who are polar opposites. So you've got family ties. You've got the Mouseier brother has a really good family storyline outside of the brother that I really enjoyed. The connection with the brother and his family and his isolation and his redemption arc were really nice. And you have all these big stakes and unique premises that when they come to a head, it doesn't feel like they matter that much because there are characters that aren't taking it seriously, and it makes you not take it seriously. So they really could hit on that, and they didn't. Finally, brother resolution in the end, I didn't like. It felt a little flat and sudden for me. It felt like it came out of nowhere, like in terms of how quick it came, and it also felt like it didn't really fit, again, the buildup of the story. And just, again, some of the line delivery, some of the choices make you scratch your head, and you're like, oh, they really had a connection here. And they had some moments that were very, very nice. And they didn't keep that same feel toward the end of the film. So The Monkey very much plays like Longlegs to me, where they had a really interesting premise and some really interesting characters and really dynamic character connections that build up a nice story that felt different and fresh and interesting. And then by the time we got to it, between pacing and tone, you're just like, the pacing, the tone, it doesn't feel like it was worth waiting for. It feels like it was just kind of thrown at you, and you're kind of like, well, the pacing was slow, but it was also played for laughs. So all of the tension and buildup didn't really pay off. So I felt that way about Longlegs last year, and I think I gave that like a 5.5 out of 10. I'm falling pretty similar here with The Monkey. It runs an hour and 40 minutes, feels a little longer than it is, paced better than most of Oz Perkins' things, but still off in tone. So I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10. Better than average. I think Oz Perkins' best work. Definitely some nice characters and some nice moments and some nice gore. But it doesn't, the juice at the end doesn't feel worth the squeeze for me personally. That being said, certainly not a bad movie and worth checking out for yourself. If you like Oz Perkins or you like the short story, there's definitely some things in this that you can pull from it to enjoy. So I give it a 6 out of 10. What did you guys think? If you saw it, please tell me in the comments down below. Tell me if I'm being too hard on this movie or if you agree or disagree with my notes on it and what you thought of The Monkey. And tell me what else you guys want me to review going forward. Seeing some new movies coming up in theaters pretty soon. We got a couple really interesting ones like Drop and Final Destination coming soon. So I'm going to be shooting a Steeler video right after this. That'll be going up later in the week. So come back for Steeler content and more film reviews coming real soon. Take care. Stay scared.